The following things mentioned in this video is an unbiased opinion from two perspectives who has been in the community for well over a year. This video is based off the injurious acts and irrational conclusions individuals on this community has done on beforehand. Note that none of the following things mentioned in the video doesn't apply to everyone in the community. This is simply output, a long history, our perspective of the matter itself. Nothing from this video is meant as hate speech, rather as criticism for educational and informative purposes only. Thank you for understanding.
Gacha Life or Gacha Club is a role-playing game that allows users to create and customize anime-styled characters, choosing from a choice of outfits to wear, and their appearance like their hair, eyes, etc. Users can choose and play from 8 mini-games, create skits in studio mode, create scenes, and chat with other players. The app also features in-app purchases such as gems which can be bought starting from £1.99. The word gacha comes from Japanese toy machines and video games, a mechanic where characters are unlocked through monetization, points collection, or virtual currency methods. But in the community this app is used to make these Gacha Life mini-movies, trends, memes and so on. This app is very light-hearted and a simple app for any work-shy creator that seeks to begin on animating their own stories. The primary and vast majority of the videos are uploaded to YouTube, and it has grown quite the following in the past couple of years. On the date of 18th of October, 2017 by Luni Incorporated or Luni, the developer, also known as of the real-life name Lucas Lee, was the game launched as an official version of the vast primary example of Gacha today. The first release of the futuristic platform as Gacha began. The first app was called Gacha Studio. It was very different from now. The models were taller, and looked very different from the current models. There weren't that many assets to make off. The app itself was a prototype launch that seemed to work perfectly fine to begin with. And the feedback was great. It turned out for Lucas that this might be a big thing, and continued to develop and revolutionized the app to higher extents, with more assets and more everything. On the date of 19th of June, 2018, the original Gacha Studio app was abandoned for a new app that was the complete key factor for the model style of the current avatars today. That app was called Gacha Verse. The app had better features, more assets, and a completely new approach to the style of the character. It was shorter, thicker and slightly more anime looking, with bigger heads and eyes. As people recognized and validated the fact this app existed, the community grew and kind of became Lucas' job. At first it was just a part-time career, but it eventually grew to an actual job. Gacha Verse was yet the final product, and this app is still growing and being developed currently in the present future, but there's still a few updates to the app that are yet to come. On the famous date for the Gacha community's recognition and platform, 20th of October, 2018, a new app called Gacha Life was born. The famous and well-known by all sorts of communities, including the commentary community, despite it being not that far from the origin Gacha Verse, it was way more approachable than any other recent game that Lucas created. This one was a full-on success. It has grown ever since. For these past couple of years, development paused, and updates to the current began. The community has grown to have a fan base of millions of users. The app itself on the Apple Store has been downloaded over 2 million times. That is an insane amount of people that have downloaded it, considering that's mostly all of the iPad and mobile users. That is still over 1 million or maybe more downloads from other applications, which would round up to 3 million users, and those numbers are only in the US. That alone shows how successful the community was. As well as the popularity of the game, the YouTube community grew. It has grown so much that people can actually get a job out of Gacha Life now. By making stories from a game, you can with luck get a job. That's incredible, and is a sign of how successful it all was. Fasting forward, Luni made another app, which is the current one called Gacha Club, which was released on 29th of June, 2020. The franchise is insanely popular, considering this yet alone a dress-up game. The popularity spike was the commitment not only from Luni, but from all of the creators that grew their own community on the YouTube platform. This was the entirety of Gacha Life's history, and now it seems to be a relentless spike of downfall, with only bad things to come. Gacha Heat is the inappropriate version of Gacha Life. It's basically hand-created to be a sexual animation of avatars that do, sexual stuff. The term, if it exists, there's pornography of it. Also applies to Gacha Life. But the difference is that the user platform of Gacha Life is based mostly around kids and underage minors. This is highly concerning when Gacha Heat is being applied to the kid platform. This would mean that kids that are underage would be introduced to these sexual interactions with other avatars through the horniness and pleasure of other individuals. This incomprehensible beginning started around 2 years ago, where the community was outraged around this matter. And then something happened that I wouldn't quite call good. Instead of acting completely normal, the community though, hey, what if we started a movement, so we can eliminate the Gacha Heat? And so they did. They created the popular movement in the Gacha Life community called #SaveTheGachaCommunity. Now it would be a great movement, but the main key factor is missing. Despite it being nice that the community cares about the safety of children, most people would quite frankly instantly assume that this would help. But, rather than pushing this matter away, it is spreading too much awareness to children. They are endangering themselves to search up these topics, to find these weird-ass videos. Now this is quite unlikely that it would happen, which is the same case with the sexual heat videos. Quite frankly, they are never going to be taken down by YouTube faster just because you start a movement. Rather, you are giving Gacha Heat attention, making everybody massively spamming their comment sections, and they making the Gacha Heat kids in the end get paid. Yeah, after they hit 1,000 subscribers and from all of the views they get because of attention, they would be eligible for monetization. That is one of many reasons why this movement is the worst ever, and you can't really deny it, because most people are rather abusing the situation with this movement as a commercial gain for their own beneficial purposes and gains to their channels, instead of doing anything criterially to stop these individuals. There's also some other videos I can recommend watching on this matter as well. They go into further details. Here are some on the screen. Alright, so, to be honest, most of the bullshit that the Gacha community is dealing with is troubleshooting. But let's look at some stuff that isn't necessarily about the community, but about the developer themselves. For instance, the developer has made jokes about the 9/11's attack. where hundreds of people died. This is completely disgusting, and this is still to this day, in the game of Gacha Life. When a character called One She says this incomprehensible joke, which is the following quoted sentences: "Did you know my birthday is on September 11th? Ha ha, not like anyone remembers." Why does he say that? And what does it have to do with the 9/11 attack? Well, the 9/11 attack was called the quote, "the day no one will forget." Also, Luni has made emotes specifically for what is called thrusting, which is highly inappropriate for a game that is for underage kids dress-up game. Even Gacha Studio had a fucking strip pole. This developer has really cared about this, but yet has left out the most obvious errors in the involvement with inappropriate activity on their app. Lucas is the worst developer that this game could have, even though, being the only one developing it.
Police channels, also known as Gacha Heat police channels, are channels that started appearing in mid-2020 or 2021. I don't exactly know. The content of their channel is just arresting people that make Gacha Heat videos and putting them in jail. It's pretty obvious that they make this just for clout and not enjoy making it. But that isn't really the problem. The problem is that they are giving Gacha Heat more attention. By making videos trying to quote-unquote stop Gacha Heat, people will check Gacha Heat videos and they will give the videos attention, and that's why Gacha Heat videos are still relevant. This got so far that now, when you search for Gacha in the YouTube search system, instead of something normal like a Gacha movie or something like that, the first result that pops up is Gacha Heat. And these police channels don't even help Gacha, they just ruin it more. Gacha reaction channels are people that make characters react to a specific video on a Gacha Life room with TV. The problem with these videos and channels are that they are effortless and boring. I don't get how people can watch them. Some of them even got monetization on, and they get money off stealing people's videos, which is terrible. But the worst part is that sometimes they don't give credit to the original video creator and get more views than them. By the way, I'm not saying all of this to Gacha reaction channels that give credit, don't monetize, and overall don't make boring and effortless videos. You are probably wondering, how do they get so many views on reacting to things? Well, it's because they use popular characters, and the people that want to see videos about these characters will click the video and watch it to the end. There are a lot of unfunny Gacha trolls, and I mean a lot. Take for example, Shishi Gacha. Before she got terminated on YouTube, she posted videos such as Jackseptic's dad deserved it. Some people might think it's dark humor, it is, but it's offensive to Jack and many other people. You ask me, why do these trolls use Gacha? Here's my theory. They use Gacha because they know that some people consider Gacha cringe and many other people will see their Gacha video and dislike it. Disliking gives the video more attention. This is one of the problems why Gacha is falling to their death, because of their community. These quote-unquote trolls also make Gacha Heat videos and sometimes playlists listed with Gacha Heat videos. It's disgusting you would waste your time for some internet people to hate you because you find happiness making them mad. If that's the case, get help. If one of these small Gacha trolls find out you made a video on them, they will make a response video to you and harass you until you quit. I know that because me and Volt dealt with it. LenTotally was a Gacha YouTuber that got exposed for grooming minors. As you see in these screenshots, you can see that Len actually groomed this minor. And manipulated them into sending explicit material of themselves. Keep in mind that Len was 20 at the time and the victim was 14, so it's true that he is a predator. He also traumatized the victim, which is terrible. He returned to YouTube under the name Zine, and it's disappointing that people are allowing him to have a platform after what happened.
You would think with an open world dress-up game, where your creativity comes first, is the way of becoming big on these typical communities on the YouTube platform. Well, sometimes it is, but for most creators, that is not the case. The corrective point of view is rather than making the most unoriginal trends or reusing them in a slight different way, saying that it's original and unique. Quite literally nothing is unique about a quote-unquote a hated child becomes a hybrid wolf alpha princess goddess. Not even joking, this was a title, and they called it pure original. I find it ironically funny how they think it's original to straight up copy somebody, and yet again, nobody watches this type of content anyways. This is one of thousands and tens of videos, just being immaturely unoriginal. While this is not all, just look at the most popular titles people watch these days. Singing Battle, of all things. Singing Battle. I am going to be completely honest, these singing battles were the cringiest I watched ever. First off, there would be two teams, 3 characters usually on each side. Usually boys versus girl characters, and they will play copyrighted music and lip sync too. And they would all be depressed and suddenly date afterwards. Like this was the old community, and people are still doing it. That is what I mean by unoriginal. Reusable trends that aren't fun to watch, but are clickbait. Good job, Gacha peeps, you have a great community. What do you think of the Gacha community? Bacons are cool. Well, the Gacha community is not good because some YouTubers used Gacha Life to make videos like Technoblade deserves to get cancer or something like that, so yeah, that's why it's bad. It's used to make stupid videos, and I don't know why it's used. LenTotally, the Gacha community isn't that good. Some YouTubers made horrible attempts to recreate in-game characters in Gacha Life, sometimes making viewers disgusted. There's also NSFW Gacha Heat videos which are made by children with no knowledge of pornography. The Gacha community is also toxic. When a person criticizes a specific Gacha YouTuber, the children will attack that person for no reason. Bacon hair Roblox, if I'm not gonna lie, I think it's pretty cringe. Most of the community. Craznick, the Gacha Life community is good. It has a lot of good old memories of Gacha kids, GachaTubers, and people making Gacha videos, but I don't want to use Gacha Life anymore. There is a problem. The Gacha Life community is getting a lot of disgusting people who are making Gacha Heat. I don't like Gacha Heat. It's gross, disgusting, and is 18 plus, and so on. I still like the old Gacha Life community, but I do not like the new Gacha Life community. Premium, I would say the Gacha community is shit. Some so-called GachaTubers are just disgusting, like 20% of them try to recreate inappropriate things. And Gacha Heat, the Gacha community is well known for having weird-ass toxic kids, and they criticize any YouTuber they feel like getting them more views, by making a bunch of fake reasons like guys flaming R-worded me, or Dream is racist, are just catching people's attention and getting them more popular. These toxic children's parents should ban any device their child uses. And speaking of parents, their dads must have went to vacation saying they went to get milk and never came back. Plus pics. I think the community was ruined because of Gacha Trolls. It would have been a great community if it wasn't for those Gacha Trolls. Logic, the Gacha games are just falling and their community are too. Even since Gacha Heat channels appeared, the community started making videos on this Gacha Heat shit and giving them attention. This is one of 1,000 problems why Gacha is falling. From a former Gacha YouTuber, I can tell that just a small part of the community likes to do these Gacha movies etc. The other people do it just for clout. Gacha is falling because of predators too. LenTotally destroyed a whole community and nothing has changed since he got exposed for being a groomer. If I said all the issues about Gacha I would be sitting here all day. Thinks logic. I would say that the Gacha community is toxic. Some Gacha stans cannot handle opinions. There are also many Gacha trolls who made fun of people's death and disease, which is absolute disgusting. Also many children saw Gacha Heat, which is very vile. Flopper. The community itself is the problem. There is no problem with Gacha at all. It's just the Gacha Heaters etc. ruining it. Our final conclusion is that the Gacha community might seem really bad, but this doesn't apply to everybody. This is just why the Gacha community has fallen in popularity due to many reasons, as well as the ones provided in this video. This is why you see commentary channels not liking the Gacha community the slightest, but the creators themselves, who don't apply to anything mentioned in the video, shouldn't be held accountable for something that they never did. In this instance, the only thing people could do is try to change. For instance, do more creativity on the platform instead of copying others. Stop making videos that are aware of the fact of Gacha Heat. Ignore them instead and try to not be highly copyrightable. Elsewise, I would like to thank my friend Doge for helping me with this video. The link to his channel is in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video, follow my Twitter and join my Discord. Yet again, all links in the description. Yet again, else I will see you all later in my next video, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, peace.